Contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last two Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton, they will likely play in round three. The winner would play Djokovic most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton could actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on...
Welcome into Game Time Decisions here on this Friday night. And it's not just Kasey Hudson you're hanging out with. It is Joe Lisi hanging out with us. I didn't forget your name, I promise. It was for dramatic effect because we're opening up the show differently. We actually get to dive into some college football quite a bit. And then we get to touch on a bunch of the other fun things going on. But they're so used to me being here and talking MLB for a long time because there's always a big slate. But you're in for a treat because college football is in full swing now. And we got to pick your brain on a number of games and hopefully some game winners, right?
Well, we went to pallet last night, right, with Colorado and North Dakota State. Game that went right down to the wire, 31-26. We also saw North Carolina upset Minnesota. Hopefully tonight's action, Kasey, leads up to what we saw last night.
Yeah, I'm hoping so too. Wait a minute, but before we dive in, were you as surprised with the Colorado stuff that went down and Coach's son with all the big drives and whatnot? Because that's been the biggest conversation, no?
Well, absolutely. Deion and Shedeur Sanders stepped up over 400 yards. How about Travis Hunter, right? All of a sudden, a 50-1 shot to win the Heisman. He's down to 25-1, over 100 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns. That fantastic catch is a highlight reel. And now Colorado starts 1-0. They play Nebraska next week. 7-point dogs already. They get that victory. They could be rolling this year.
Yes, which we will get into the Heisman odds or change arounds because as we mentioned, with everything being in full swing, you start to see some new stuff going on. But we got to talk about tonight's slate and what's going on. And that starts us with some Oklahoma Sooner conversation. You got any good swings in this one?
Well, it's a little bit of a different offense. Dylan Gabriel, the former quarterback, is now starting over at Oregon with Dan Lanning. You have Jackson Arnold that started the bowl game against Arizona. Played fairly well in the first half, 2 touchdowns, but did throw 3 interceptions. They lost that matchup. New offensive coordinator, but you're going up against a team in terms of tempo that gave up 35.7 points per game. I think the offense stays out there for long periods of time. I expect Oklahoma to dominate this matchup and go over the total tonight.
Okay, so on top of going over the total, a lot of times when you see a massive spread, some people like to steer clear of it. Is that something that you would do also?
This is a game, I mean, it's not on my radar in terms of betting card. If I had to make the pick, it would go Oklahoma because of Jackson Arnold, the inexperience, now playing in the SEC with the likes of Texas, LSU, Alabama, respectively. You want to get that continuity in terms of quarterback to wide receiver relationship along with the new offensive coordinator. This is a perfect opponent. And when you have a team that gave up 35-plus points last year in tempo with 5 starters coming back, odds are pretty good that Oklahoma could get into the 50s or 60s tonight.
Yes, I'm sure we'll see that rack up. And a fun fact, if you guys are nerdy like me and like those kind of things, it's been a while since the two teams have seen one another, but the last time it was Temple that took the cake, and this was like 1942. Before that, Oklahoma won in 1940. So, I mean, it's been a long time standing for both of these teams to see some action. But as for some teams, when it comes to action, we want to see where Oklahoma's future lies in this upcoming season. When you kind of have some cakewalk games, you don't want that to kind of take the air out of the tire for teams that have to produce. They kind of fell short when it came to the Big 12. What are you foreseeing with them in the win total? Over, under 7.5 wins?
Well, when you look at Oklahoma right now, if Dylan Gabriel was the starter this year, I would be very optimistic in terms of going over the 7.5. He was very efficient last year, completed over 65% of his passes, 30 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, also added over 10 rushing touchdowns on the year, so he can run it, he could throw it. Jackson Arnold hasn't proven that just yet, and the schedule is very difficult. They play Auburn, they play Tennessee, Alabama, Texas, the list goes on and on. Ole Miss and LSU, that's a gauntlet in regards to the SEC schedule. I'm going under the 7.5 win total this year.
That feels like a safe bet with all of the hurdles that they probably have to overcome. Switching out your quarterback's not fun, not to mention as it changes things up. Moving along here, you've got the FAU Owls versus the Spartans. Spartans edge when it comes to the trenches. Owls going through a roster revamp. Anything of value in this matchup?
Well, new head coach, obviously, Jonathan Smith taking over in regards from Oregon State now to Michigan State. You have Nate Carter, one of the best, more productive backs in regards to the offense for Michigan State. Aiden Childs, the former Oregon State quarterback, takes over. But I'll tell you what, they're playing Tom Herman and FAU. That's very spunky as a dog. Tom Herman, 4-8 last year. They couldn't run it as consistently, playing on the road with 5 months of preparation. I think they could be live in this matchup. Michigan State might win, but I like FAU plus the points.
All right. I like the spread in this one for a number of reasons. Western Michigan versus Wisconsin. Western Michigan's kind of surprisingly produced a few tight ends here and there. They may have not made it too far in the NFL, but they're not a team that you would overlook or undervalue, but also you're going against Wisconsin.
A lot of optimism last year with Luke Fickell coming over from Cincinnati. Luke Fickell took Cincinnati to a college football playoff appearance a few years ago. A lot was expected out of this team coming out of the Big Ten. They had former SMU quarterback Tanner Mordecai that came over, 14 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. They were a little bit limited in year number 1 with offensive coordinator Phil Longo. They now have Tyler Van Dyke, the former Miami quarterback, that is the starter in this matchup, going up against a MAC opponent. I expect Wisconsin to dominate this number. 23.5 to me is light. They dominate out-of-conference opponents. I expect Wisconsin to cover this number and get over the total tonight.
The only time I'll cheer for Wisconsin outside of Minnesota when it comes to those ones. Now, this is one of my favorites, TCU versus Stanford. TCU's been a fun team to watch over the last 5 so years, and they got a couple guys I got props on tonight, but what do you see?
Ooh, well, TCU, 8.5-point favorite on the road. You know what's amazing is that Stanford last year was 3-9. They were 0-7 in Palo Alto last year. They lost those 7 games by an average margin of defeat of 19 points per game. So spread-wise, you would lean to TCU in terms of this matchup. They did give up over 37 points per game from the defensive perspective. I like over the total tonight. I would probably lay it with TCU. Sonny Dykes, the more offensive mind as opposed to Troy Taylor. Stanford's still ball control type of attack. Give me TCU and give me over the total.
So I love that you did this because you kind of just juiced up my props a little bit. So for me, it's Hoover to have over 291, and I know that feels like a lot for TCU going against Stanford, but you said the key word there. Stanford's defense was kind of a hot mess last year. Not too much has changed there. I mean, they were sitting bottom of the barrel for giving up on passing yards, and then their run defense didn't exist. So that's what I'm counting on. I'm counting that the TCU quarterback can rack up some yards. He had 5 games out of 7 appearances last year where he went over 300 passing yards. Made it look pretty easy and made over 35 passes. The big game. we got to talk some Clemson and Georgia.
Sure.
People think that there's disrespect because, well, Clemson should be talked about more highly when it comes to the ACC, but they're kind of being trashed because they didn't make any transfer portal flattering, flashy moves. Georgia sitting atop, obviously, when it comes to college football, but how much can this fare out differently than everyone expects?
Well, let's not forget, this game played out a few years ago with DJU in Charlotte, and Georgia did get the victory 10-7. They sacked DJU 7 times. They were a 3-point dog in that matchup, and they dominated en route to almost a national championship run, right? Mm-hmm. This game with 5 months of preparation, I actually think benefits Clemson. Dabo Swinney on the hot seat. They started slow last year. Week number 1, they lost to Duke. They did win 5 games down the stretch by an average margin of victory of 10.6 points per game, Kasey. And Georgia has won the series 7 of the last 8. Last win by Clemson came back in 2013. I think Georgia wins this game. I think Clemson does, in fact, cover the 11.5 now. I like the over, though. 48.5. You're talking about Carson Beck and also Cade Klubnik. Carson Beck last year, 72% completion percentage, 3,946 yards, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. They threw for 305 yards per game. That means to me, points, points, points.
Absolutely. And those are important statistics that you're going to want to stay locked in on, because some people thought it was a little crazy to go over the 48 total here because everyone thinks it's just going to be a shutdown performance by Georgia. Yes, their defense is something to fear, but I wouldn't count out Clemson. I wouldn't count out the disrespect that they have on their name coming into this season, which only makes them play harder. And they're going to sit at that top spot in the ACC, or at least they think so. But we've got more college football to dive into. A great slate with me and Joe Lisi on the other side of a quick break. So go absolutely nowhere. Make sure you're marking down these best bets and angles and so much more. Outside of the college football talk, we've got Coach coming in to give us his best bets for the WNBA. We got to talk some U.S. Open because you guys know I have picks and so much more. So go nowhere. It's Game Time Decisions right back here on SportsGrid TV.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last 2 Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton. They will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton's actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
You are watching Game Time Decisions here on SportsGrid TV. And if you weren't with Joe and I beforehand, it's time to focus in now because we're going to continue rolling through the college football slate. Joe's dropped some great knowledge on games going on tonight, but now we got to get to some of the other big games. In this one, I hope that our friendship can stay intact because we've got to figure out what's going to happen with this Miami-Florida game. A lot of people say don't count out Florida, but Miami's supposed to have the hottest roster, maybe not even just in the ACC, but potentially in college football.
Well, you have two coaches on the hot seat. I call him Mario Big Chest Cristobal in terms of Miami. His overall record in South Beach is 12-13 overall. And Billy Napier was supposed to bring back the heydays of Urban Meyer and back-to-back national championships, and he's only 11-14 overall in Gainesville. This game comes down to the home cooking for me. Billy Napier, like I said, 11-14 in regards to the record. 9 of those wins, Kasey, have come at home in Gainesville. So they're a very good home team. Plus, he might have the most experienced quarterback in this matchup. Everybody talks about Cam Ward coming over from Washington State, dynamic player, but it's a new scheme with a new offense. And Miami last year was 2-4 on the road or on a neutral field site. They lost those 4 games by an average margin of defeat of 9.6 points per game. And let's not forget, Graham Mertz last year completed 72% of his passes, 20 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Give me the home team and Billy Napier. I think they strike the upset plus the 2.5 and plus 115 on the money line.
You know what? You just put our friendship on the fringes, but you know what? Honesty is the best policy, and I will say this. The Swamp is a hard place to play in because the sound is just like it rings in your ears for days and days to come in and out. So, yeah, I mean, I was kind of leaning towards Miami in this one, but I'm probably staying away because my biased opinion will ruin me either way. Moving forward from this, though, Notre Dame versus Texas A&M. I'm actually a big fan of this matchup. Texas A&M probably deserves a little bit more loving here. Notre Dame's QB is coming off a pair of injuries, so there might be some wiggle room there to see how he'll perform. Notre Dame has a bomb defense, but they have some newbies on their offensive line. Can that come into play in this match?
This game is very intriguing because in the offseason, Notre Dame was the favorite. They opened as a 1.5, 2-point favorite. We've now seen market fluctuation with Texas A&M minus 2.5. You're even seeing potentially some threes over multiple books, which is absolutely shocking to me. You have Mike Elko with a win total this year of 8.5. Connor Wegman does come back from the foot injury. He gave way to Max Johnson last year. Connor Wegman did complete 68% of his passes in limited games, but he struggled against better SEC opponents. I think that's the difference when you head into this matchup. I think Marcus Freeman is a very good road coach, 10-4 in back-to-back seasons in Notre Dame. They step up against better competition in road environments, and he's got Duke quarterback Riley Leonard that did engineer the victory over Clemson. Even though Elko was the coach, Riley Leonard did it on the field. I think his mobility is the difference. I like the under in this matchup, but I'm going to take the points with Notre Dame. I like them as a plus 120 underdog.
See, our friendship just came back and attacked because my notes are literally saying consider the under because of what could potentially happen in the battle of the trenches. I love a battle in the trenches, and I think that that's going to end up paying off for one team or the other. Hopefully, maybe Texas A&M, nothing against Notre Dame. Sorry, fans. Now, LSU versus USC. USC drops in the rankings. No surprise there. You lose your top quarterback, and all of a sudden, everyone thinks the pass attack is not going to exist. Well, it still can potentially possibly exist. LSU has a revamped secondary. Now they've got a new guy holding the crown when it comes to controlling that defense. Is that a lot of pressure to where LSU will or will not show up?
Well, it's a lot of pressure on Brian Kelly because when you look at Brian Kelly dating back to 2017, in terms of Notre Dame, he's a very good road coach, 30-14 overall. That's a 681 winning percentage. But in back-to-back seasons with LSU, he's come right out of the gate and lost to Florida State. So a lot of pressure in year number 3. Jaden Daniels and both of those wide receivers, Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors, are now in the NFL. Garrett Nussmeier's there. You got Kyron Lacey. That's a compliment, third best wide receiver last year. He's going to be the number 1 with C.J. Daniels, the transfer out of Liberty. I like LSU. I think this game comes down to the physicality in regards to the offensive line. Even though both teams have new defensive coordinators, you got Blake Baker for LSU, and you have Lynn now the former UCLA defensive coordinator for USC. Comes down to SEC versus Big Ten now. I'm going to roll with my Bayou Bengals. I think they roll in this matchup. LSU minus the 4.5.
It's hard to bet against the SEC, and I have felt that pain a number of times. But outside of the SEC, and I do have it laying for LSU, it's going to be the Boston College FSU conversation for Monday. Now, anyone who's a loyal FSU fan, as I was born and bred to be, knows that Boston College has been a pain in this team's behind no matter what. FSU can have the flashiest roster, the best coaching, but Boston College can come in and have the upset. I don't know why they've had their number a number of years, but unfortunately, I have Boston covering the spread.
Oh, really? Now, we go back a long way. I'm a Florida State fan from the days of Bobby Bowden and primetime Deion Sanders, so I love Florida State. I will say this, the benefit of having a game under their belt, even though they lost that matchup to Georgia Tech, should benefit Florida State in this matchup. You're right, Thomas Castellanos, the quarterback of Boston College, gave them fits last year in Chestnut Hill. They won that game 32-29, but they were a 20-plus favorite in that matchup, did not cover. Now you're seeing a little fluctuation from 20.5, 21 down to 17.5, respectively. I'm going to lay it with Florida State. It's do or die. You're playing back home in Tallahassee, another conference game. I think they cover this number by 3 touchdowns or more.
I'm happy to be wrong here. And again, they're supposed to have some of the top pass rushers when it comes to the ACC conversation, but we didn't see much of that. Fatigue, playing in Ireland, all the things that go into it all, but my feelings are hurt, and I don't want to bet the wrong way here. But really quickly, we have under a minute. Did the performance in Colorado yesterday sway you to put Travis Hunter in the top of the Heisman conversation?
Absolutely. He went from, like I said, 50 to 60-1 down to 25-1. It's going to be durability. Can he hold up from a 12 or a 13-game schedule? You're going to have to limit him a little bit to save him and preserve him for the end of the regular season. But if he does put up a 1,000-yard receiving performance this year and multiple touchdowns, and let's say he's in the top 5 in interceptions, he's going to be in the conversation.
Yeah, and I think you and most people are on top of that, sticking with Hunter moving through. But that is a wrap on our college conversation with Joe Lisi. But you don't want to go anywhere here on Game Time Decisions, because we got some U.S. Open and so much more on the other side of this very quick break.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last 2 Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton, they will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton could actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Welcome back into Game Time Decisions here on SportsGrid TV, and I hope everyone is having a fantastic Friday night. If you are not, should have gotten better with me and Joe Lisi, because we gave you the best breakdowns for college football, many games, edges, odds, and lines to eyeball throughout this entire weekend. And now we get to my geekdom, which is talking about the U.S. Open. And many of you probably had an interesting night last night as we watched Alcaraz get knocked out. You're talking about somebody who is sitting number 1 in the odds and standings heading into the U.S. Open, dropped to number 2 after Joker had a pretty solid opening match. No surprise there. But then we see Joker go against Jair. Jair ends up retiring in the third set, goes out. He gets the automatic win moving forward. No surprise that we would see a tough matchup down the line, and we thought that tough matchup was going to come between a rematch between Joker and Alcaraz, and now Alcaraz loses to the Dutchman. We saw a shaky performance out of him in Cincinnati. We saw a little post-Olympic fatigue from him, and it seems to kind of be translating forward and through, but now we got to talk about Joker. We got to see what's coming up for him, and he's got a matchup coming down the stretch here with Popyrin, and this is actually going to be really interesting because Novak Djokovic as well as Alexei Popyrin have seen each other a number of times this year. Had a big showdown when it came to the Australian Open, as well as a showdown as in Wimbledon. Now, both of these games went to 4 sets, and Popyrin kind of kept Joker on his toes a number of times. He was able to secure the first set in both wins, which will lead to a best bet that I will break down shortly. But most importantly, where Alexei Popyrin can make this a very interesting match is the fact that he's got big serves and he's got big returns. Now, beforehand, we know that Joker was working through an injury. So Wimbledon, you can kind of only navigate so much if you're going to angle your bets here, or if you're going to kind of take into consideration how Joker can match up. What Popyrin did so well with those big serves and those big returns is that he made sure that he forced Joker to move. Something that we saw Alcaraz do in the Wimbledon final, which obviously resulted in an Alcaraz win. Popyrin's going to try to push here to get out of this round. Do I think he's going to make it? Likely not. Joker's not only getting in better form, not playing like he's injured or kind of weathering a post-surgery knee situation, but he's doing a lot better in terms of being explosive and moving more around the court and not allowing his opponent to force him corner to corner. So what to expect in the upcoming preview? Well, for starters, I think that Joker would probably drop the first set yet again, and not because he can't match up and go toe-to-toe with an opponent he's already beaten twice this year. I think it's because he takes that time to gauge and kind of read his opponent. That's the biggest thing with tennis. You are consistently adjusting your game, and you are figuring out how to force your opponent into your game. And I think that because most guys right now want to try to force Joker from corner to corner or draw him up to the net, he uses that first set to kind of weather the storm. So I do like Alexei to take the first set, or maybe not specifically the first set. I have him taking a set, but I'm leaning towards that first set being the one that he takes. So you can see that right here, him grabbing one set at a minus 144. Now, I got Joker moving out of this round because he's going back to playing pretty outstanding. He's finding ways to load up in the ace tally. He's picking up those first serve points also, and we're seeing it result in wins moving through. The other thing to keep into consideration when it comes to this matchup, Alexei did very well going against him in the Australian Open, but most importantly in Wimbledon. Well, Wimbledon, you are on a grass surface. That grass surface changes the tempo of the ball. It changes the tempo of those big serves and those big hits. So what I think that Joker will try to do against him tonight is that he's going to try to use those big hits and those big returns against him, and you can do it on hard courts, because if you give them a way or a difficult thing to return, you're usually going to find a guy hitting the ball out of bounds 9 times out of 10. So he's going to try to force Alexei to consistently hit that ball out of bounds and hit it out of the court, which he could potentially do. So Alexei's got to make sure that while he has powerful serves, powerful returns, he can't get too out of character with it. We kind of saw some of that with Ben Shelton versus Big Foe earlier today, or as that match has been progressively going on. And Djokovic is very good at manipulating his opponent, getting in their head, and forcing them to make those mistakes. A way that Alexei can keep Joker on his toes, though, is going to Joker's backhand. And if he can consistently and accurately get it to Joker's backhand, don't worry about making him move. Force those backhand errors, then we can see an interesting matchup tonight. But regardless, I think Alexei can grab one set. I think Joker continues to be the king of the hard courts and adds to the tally of how many wins that he has had. Heading into this matchup, it was 71-0 for his hard court titles. And I think that he's going to continue to roll. But I still have an American in my sights to be the finale of this amazing tournament. So stick with us because we've got more U.S. Open. We got to recap the best tournaments of the day. Then we've got to talk some WNBA with Coach James Young. We've got to talk with Joe Madden and get her MLB slate. So you don't want to go anywhere. Stick with us here on Game Time Decisions on SportsGrid TV on the other side of this break.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last 2 Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton. They will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton could actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
You are watching Game Time Decisions on this Friday night with me, Kasey Hudson, and joining us is Coach James Young. I told you guys I'll never stop calling him Coach because we got to get the insight, the analytics. We've got to get the outside view. We got to get the important view. So, Coach, talk to me about, well, first of all, probably what you love in tonight's slate and which game you're most looking forward to. That's actually what I want to know first.
Oh, come on, Kasey. It's Angel Reese, and I mean, did you throw me an alley-oop like right off the bat? Of course, it's Sky Fever. It's cinema. It's what everybody wants to see. It's the fact of, you know, the play of Indiana's been better. Obviously, you know, Chicago's been kind of rough. It looks like maybe no Kennedy Carter again tonight because there's no props out for her again. But it's Angel Reese who's been on this historic run in the rebounding market. So, you know, this could be, honestly, folks, I think it's done, personally. But if there is a way that Angel can get back into this, it's got to be a monster performance. By the way, folks, if you got a little bit of coin on you, just a little bit of coin, I just looked up. I mean, you want to go to the game tonight? I don't know. Best seat on StubHub, $9,800 a seat. Go ahead, go take yourself to a WNBA game. It's like a Knick game price.
That's ridiculous, but also great at the same time. It's ridiculous because we should have gotten a heads up about this so everyone can save their coins so that they actually had a chance to go. It's fantastic because it just continues to contribute to the magnitude of the game and the growth. But I'm kind of with you on this, Coach. I mean, what stuck out to me outside of some of the players that are going to be missing for Chicago is the fact that they don't play that well at home. I mean, I think I saw that the record was 4-11, and when you have a team that can't perform at home, and now you've got this massive rookie showdown going on, and Caitlin Clark, who's just been going off, but I like Kasey Mitchell a lot too, and the Fever still trying to make a pitch to jump spots for a playoff position. It just kind of leans heavily for the Fever. Are there any props in this one that you love?
Did you read my card? Because I love Kasey Mitchell to go over 19.5 points. Kasey Mitchell has been an absolute bucket, up to 18.3 points per game on the season. She's come out really red hot since the Olympic break. If you look at the fact she's gone 28, 27, 21, 29, 23. Kennedy Carter, best defender, not playing. Now, here's one thing to look at also, and this is why I like Indiana minus 6.5. Number one, Indiana's playing fantastic basketball, right? We saw it. We've seen who they picked off, including that big win that the Seattle Storm coach is still pissed off that they blew them out in the second half. But people aren't talking about Marina Mabrey leaving to go to Connecticut. It's not like they brought someone back of substance. That's their point guard. That's their leader. And if you look at the games as of late, they have not done a good job of taking care of the ball. So their starting backcourt is out. Give me minus 6.5 on Indiana Fever. Give me Kasey Mitchell over 19.5 points.
We're just in sync right now, Coach, because I did not read your card, but I've been on Kasey Mitchell for at least 3 games now, you know, because, like, it's great to talk about Caitlin Clark and everything she's doing. She deserves her roses, but you also have to give those other large contributing factors their roses as well, and Kasey Mitchell is right in the mix there. But you used a key word in terms of kind of struggling a little bit, and when I think of struggle, I think of the Aces. You got the Aces taking on the Dream. At one point when you and I chatted, the Dream team was looking like a Dream team, and now who knows? But the Aces, even though they've won 3 of their last 5, their defense has just been kind of abysmal. Doesn't really exist. And then the Dream, they lose the other night, but only by 4 points to a Storm team that's actually quite good offensively. What are you seeing here?
Well, we know there's only one thing we know about the Aces right now, is that Asia Wilson's playing at a level that's it's not even MVP-like. I still think we talked about last time, there's a pathway, for the Fisher College to get the MVP. Right now, last time we talked, she was at plus 3,700. She's down to 30-1. So she's moving in that direction. Now, when you talk about the play of Asia Wilson, I saw it on FanDuel. Over 7.5 points in the first quarter. She's going to play 8 to 9 minutes, right? You're looking at the matchup there. I mean, Tina Charles, I didn't even see her props out, so she may be out tonight in the lineup, right? That's their best big. I think Asia Wilson goes off early. 8 to 10 points first quarter is minus 136 on FanDuel. Take a look at that. I don't know about everyone else, Kasey, but I know that Asia Wilson's going to show up and show out.
Yeah, you can definitely count on her. And I did see some interesting things. I talked about it earlier on WNBA today, but some people were saying that if by chance she gets leaped for the MVP conversation, that she could potentially be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year or Best Defensive Player in the mix. But when you see her blocks and her steals and the way that she comes up to help her team who's struggling defensively, I don't know if those conversations go hand in hand, but something that people were trying to sneak in the mix. Now, if I do quickly take a glance at your player card or your best bets, I think you got some love for Breanna Stewart on there. And I kind of have a hot take that her team kind of doesn't show up unless she throws them on her back and pulls them through it. But you help me with this one.
Well, listen, their loss was really a bad loss, 94-88 to the LA Sparks. But, folks, Jonquel Jones didn't play. So now Jonquel is a game-time decision. And the last I looked, Kasey, in the last hour or so, I don't think I saw any props out for Double J. So that means they probably know something that she's probably not in. That's why this line's 3 and maybe not a little bit higher. So if Jonquel is out, I'm going Stewie to be the leading scorer because she's got to carry this team. Folks, where's another caveat with this? I like cinema. I'm a movie guy, right? Brianna Stewart started her career where? In Seattle. So to me, this is big for her. This is a homecoming for her. I know she's from Syracuse. She played for the Philadelphia Bells for AAU, but Seattle was home for her for a long time. I like it because I think she goes off. She'll score more than Jewel Lloyd because Jewel Lloyd could have a Wumbuke, Megaber. She have other people, Skylar Diggins-Smith, helping her out. I'm going to go 2-1. Stewie, top scorer tonight.
Ooh, I'm actually a big fan of that one, but I have to counter that with this. Stewart has a big game. It's very poetic for her to have a big game versus former team or a former situation, but you've got a Storm team that shouldn't entirely be counted out. Their offense can show up pretty well sometimes, and then also on top of it, you also have 3 to 4 scorers on that team that put up 16-plus points. So for this, I kind of liked the Storm to cover the spread, but I was also looking at the over total if it comes to Stewart having herself a game and the Storm trying to prove that they can have a quality offense. Thoughts?
Well, here's why I would push back against it. Atlanta, 7.5-point favorites, won by 4. DC, they were 7.5-point favorites at home, lost by 2. At DC, 7.5-point favorites, won by 6. They lost by 17 at Indiana. They have not covered a spread since the 12th of July. Now, this is a big spot for a Storm team that's coming back to the well a little bit. Now, listen, no John Quell really helps them out because that's that stretch 5 and allows Stewie to play high-low. But I can't get in front of the Storm. The Liberty are tricky in this spot. That's why I went right to Stewie, because I think that out of anything, that's the most given. Stewie should have a big game tonight.
Okay, and I see one more thing here. You got some love for the Lynx. I've got them winning their first quarter. Not that I don't have them winning the entire game, but I saw some value in that first quarter win outright versus the Wings tonight, looking for their 3rd straight win. What are your thoughts here under a minute?
Well, you simply put, they've covered every game since the Olympic break. There's a famous philosopher named Charles Barkley. And the Dallas Wings are terrible. They're bad. I mean, they're really bad. I know. They've covered 2 of the last 3, pushed the 3rd. But Minnesota's playing for that 2 seed. I think they win. I like your play. They start fast, they end fast. Minnesota Lynx covered his spread tonight.
There we go, Coach. I finally have something to throw in the winning pot with all of your great picks and insight. As always, it's so great picking your brain when it comes to the WNBA. But stick with us because we got one more quick break.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last 2 Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton. They will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton's actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. with 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Welcome back into Game Time Decisions here on SportsGrid TV. And as I promised earlier, we've got to pick the brilliant brain of Joe Madden and get her MLB card or slate for tonight. We've got brilliant games going on, but we've got even more brilliant picks. Joe, how's it going? Are you ready to give us your card of the night?
Definitely ready to give you my card. Mixed feelings on the day, though. Hockey World absolutely rocked with the loss of Johnny Gaudreau. So I just want to give a big shout out to everyone who loved him out there, Kasey. It's hard not to get emotional today. A hard loss for sure. And reminder to everyone going into the long weekend, please don't drink and drive, you guys.
Please, 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 because that's the last thing all of us wanted to wake up to this morning. But as you mentioned, especially as 2 people very much involved in the hockey world, it was a tough start to the morning. But we continue to keep them in our prayers. And as we roll through to baseball, hopefully you can lighten some things up with some big picks and a bright spot in this Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's tons of day action today, and we've got a loaded slate tonight. So, Kasey, I think we've got lots of opportunities to make some money out there.
Yes. Well, I hear you've got some positivity and some good stuff when it comes to the Cardinals versus the Yankees. I will tell everyone once again that the Yankees have burned me in a number of ways the past few weeks. But I've got my eye on a Cardinal tonight. What do you have on your card between this matchup?
Yeah, looking at the plus money that you're able to get on the St. Louis Cardinals, I think is a really smart way to go. That line sitting right around plus 155, plus 154 on the money line, I think has the value over the Yankees tonight. We look at Eric Fedde coming out here for the St. Louis Cardinals, and I do think he'll have the ability to get his strikeouts on the board as well. I'm taking him over those 4.5 strikeouts at minus 113. We look at Stroman here, and I just don't have the faith in him. Those home splits haven't been pretty. That ERA at home is a 5.09, and I do think he's going to have those struggles tonight. We also look at his last 5 starts versus the St. Louis Cardinals. This is a team that has picked him apart. He's gone 0-4 in those last 5 starts versus the Cardinals with a 5.04 ERA. So I'm looking for the Cards to come out strong. I think it is a great bet with that plus money with them. Now, this will be a tight game to the over. I'm playing the over 8.5, but I do think Paul Goldschmidt here coming out for the St. Louis Cardinals is the player you want to target tonight to hit off of Stroman. He's plus 180 for that RBI, and you can also look at him for the home run. The home run's coming in at plus 520. He's been phenomenally hot as of late, and we've seen him hit off Stroman. I think he's in for another big night tonight here, Kasey.
As I mentioned, a brilliant breakdown, and I love a lot of those picks. The only thing I've got going when it comes to the Cardinals, and I think I loaded up on RBI stuff for almost everybody tonight. It felt simple enough for me, but I got wind to hopefully maybe grab an RBI. Now you got the Pirates chasing the Brewers in the NL Central, had a sweep at home. I think that Brian Reynolds can maybe grab an RBI to jump into that only betting pot that I touched this evening, but what great picks do you have for us in this one?
Yeah, looking at this matchup here, the Cleveland Guardians have been such a strong team at home, and we know in some of these games, they've really been letting us down as of late. I'm looking for a big win out of them today. I think they can come out and not only win it, but cover that run line. You can't lay the money line here with them unless it's kind of a parlay piece for you, and then I have no remorse if I put it in a money line parlay, but I do think if you just look at the run line, laying 1.5, you're going to get some great plus money at plus 130. And I do think in this matchup here with Ben Lively, it's the way to look. Ben Lively has been phenomenally strong at home, and he's able to get those outs on the board. He has an outs of 17.5 at minus 118 to the over, and I do think he stays long and deep into this game and can really limit the bats here of the Pittsburgh Pirates. So I'm going to have faith in the Guards to come out here, cover that run line, and Ben Lively to go over the 17.5 outs in this matchup. It should be a good one tonight.
I support the faith, absolutely. Joe, we got to see if there's any faith when it comes to the Rangers, but we've got the Rangers taking on the Athletics. A's trying to avoid that last place spot and hopefully pull off an upset, but what do you got for us?
Okay, so the Oakland A's are trying to pull off the upset. JP Spears getting the start here for them, and I do have faith in him. He's been pretty solid at 4.35 ERA, and solid when we're talking about pitchers for the A's. Now, John Gray coming out here, he hasn't looked good as of late. I don't like what we've seen out of him. He's been struggling. The Oakland A's have been a sneaky team at being able to get those runs on the board in some of these games, and I do think they're going to hit off of John Gray. So I'm not taking them to come out and get the straight up win here versus the Texas Rangers, but I will take their team total. Their team total over 3.5 runs is coming in at -142. And I do think it's a really solid way to go. I know John Gray needs that bounce back game that we're all hoping for, but I just don't see it in this one. I think the A's can get enough runs or off of the bullpen in this situation. So 3.5, it's too light for me.
I love that, actually. That's a great breakdown of those ones. But we got to get your opinion on this. Some people are calling the Blue Jays at the plate below average, on the mound below average. But what are you seeing when they're going against the Twins?
You know, Kasey, this is my team, and this is a team that I openly have faded in a lot of situations this season. But you look at them as of late, and yes, it's going to be too little, too late here for the Toronto Blue Jays. They're finally getting things together. They've won 7 of Kevin Gausman's last 8 starts, and he has been looking so solid out there. Now, he's a pitcher that I've always trusted more on the road than at home, and I do think he can come out nice and strong here versus the Minnesota Twins. They will be sending Pablo Lopez to the mound, so this is going to be a tough matchup, but the value is coming in on the Toronto Blue Jays here. I love them at the +145. Now, this is a pitching duel for me. The first 5 under 4.5 is too juicy at -146. I altered this number under 3.5. It's coming in at +120. I think there's so much value looking at that alt number between these two pitchers in this matchup, Kasey.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well, Joe, I feel your pain. I've had to fade my teams a number of times, and it's a hard thing to do, but at least you're thinking with your head over your heart sometimes, which is what you have to do here. Now, we do have more games to touch base on and get to. I would love to get your opinion on the Astros and the Royals, but we have a little under 30 seconds, so I think that we both just kind of brew on how to lock in on those information and numbers that you gave us for the Blue Jays versus the Twins. And then on the other side, you got to load us up with more best bets and angles and maybe see how some lines start moving as we get this night going even further along. So go nowhere. Stick here with me and Joe Madden as she continues to run through the MLB slate. Game Time Decisions here on SportsGrid TV.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last 2 Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton. They will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton could actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Back at it with Game Time Decisions here on SportsGrid TV. And as I promised, we continue to roll through the big slate tonight in the MLB with the one and only Joe Madden. She was walking us through brilliant bets and angles for some of the other games from the Cardinals and the Yankees, Pirates, Guardians, Athletics, Rangers, and so much more. And also trying to find a way to work with her head over her heart when it comes to the Blue Jays and drop some great knowledge there. But talk to me about the Astros versus the Royals. A lot of people obviously loving much of what's going on with the Royals right now, and there's a player that everybody loves very much. But what do you see in this one?
You're right, Kasey. Everyone is showing the love for Bobby Witt Jr., and rightly so. He's been absolutely phenomenal right there just with Aaron Judge. And you've got to love those 28 home runs on the season, batting average of 344. But I do think in this, it's going to be a hard matchup here for the Kansas City Royals versus the Houston Astros. I'm looking for the Houston Astros to have the edge in this matchup, the pitching edge that is. We got Valdez coming out here for them, and I do think he's really going to limit the bats here of the Kansas City Royals. And Lugo, I'm looking at doing the opposite. Seth Lugo's had his struggles as of late, and I'm taking him under the 18.5 outs. Now it's juicy at minus 144. But against this deep lineup of the Houston Astros, I do think they're going to hit him, and they're going to hit him hard and not allow him to be in this game for too long. I think the Houston Astros should be able to come out and cover that run line. Now, this is a low total of 8. And it's a low total for a reason, because we do have to give Seth Lugo some support here. He is a strong pitcher, but I just think the Astros should be able to capitalize on those struggles he's had as of late. So I'm looking for the Houston Astros to cover the run line. I also love their team total over 4.5. That's coming in at plus 120. I expect those runs hard and fast out of them. I could see this being a 6-2 style game, pushing right on that total of 8, or a 6-3 game if the Kansas City Royals get a late run here versus a bullpen of the Houston Astros. So it's going to be tight to that total, so I'm not going to touch it, but I do like Seth Lugo under on his outs and the Astros straight up on that run line, laying the 1.5.
I do love the run line. I was just asking the guys earlier, is there any run line stuff that I can look into? Jack gave me some good info. I'll pick your brain on it here shortly, but we got to talk about the Dodgers Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks, obviously one of the hottest offenses out there, Dodgers being the Dodgers in all of their form, flair, and fashion right now. What stands out in this matchup?
Okay, we've got Clayton Kershaw coming out here for the LA Dodgers, and we have Zach Gallen for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, when we look at Kershaw, he does have a strong ERA, but versus the Diamondbacks, he's a complete fade out here. That ERA shoots up to an 8.74. So I'm looking for the Diamondbacks with how hot they have been offensively to hit off of him. And then when we look at Zach Gallen here, that ERA is a 3.65. Night ERA 3.61. Yes, sounds great, but he does have those command issues, and I expect him to walk a lot of these Dodgers out there and get those bases loaded, and then we know how strong this lineup can be, Kasey. So I'm going to something that I love betting when it involves a strong team like the Dodgers offensively and another team that has been getting those runs on the board. I'm taking the Yurfie in the first inning, but I'm also taking the over 1.5 in the first inning. I'm going to put a half a bet on each. The Yurfie's coming in at minus 113. The over 1.5 coming in at plus 225, with a half unit on both. I think both have every opportunity of cashing. So give me the higher scoring first inning in this one. I expect this game to fly over that total as well.
I'm a big fan of those. Now, just let me know where your support lies on this, because when it came to the first 5 run line, Jack and I were talking about the Orioles, because who doesn't love any kind of bets that go down when it comes to Coors Field? But is there anything that you support or stand by when it comes to the Orioles versus the Rockies, or any perks to Coors Field?
You know, we got Suarez coming out here for the Baltimore Orioles. He should be able to do enough versus the Colorado Rockies in that first 5 on the run line. This line scares me a little bit, though. You look at this one, and this is why I left it off my card. Why are the Baltimore Orioles only a minus 135 favorite over the Colorado Rockies? I expected them to be closer to a minus 180 favorite in this situation, a game where we should be betting the run line for the full game to get any value. So for myself, it felt like I had to find a way to bet Colorado or to stay off of this one and not get stuck in a trap. Because of that, I completely stayed off of it. There was no bets that I liked for Colorado in this matchup, and I'm scared of this one for Baltimore just because they're such a short favorite, Kasey.
That is such a good point. That makes it pretty much a lot of suspicion on whether or not to bet on this game, so maybe I'll steer clear. But Joe, thank you so much for always taking the time and giving us a great slate and a great bet card. Go nowhere, because we got a quick break on the other side here on SportsGrid TV.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
You are watching Game Time Decisions here on SportsGrid TV, and we've got some U.S. Open to get back to, so I hope you guys are ready, because I wasn't ready for this. I was prepared to give you a recap. I was prepared to talk about things and events that took place earlier today, but I was also biasly prepared to say that Ben Shelton was getting ready to move on in the U.S. Open. Well, guess what? The same shock and awe that came with Alcaraz getting knocked out last night is probably going to hit you right now as I tell you that Frances Tiafoe moved past Ben Shelton in dramatic form to continue his role and his stride in the U.S. Open. Now, I love this for a number of reasons on a quick little spiel, because Tiafoe has actually been a tremendous player. Well, not this season, but the season before and the season before that. He's been a little shaky this past year, which has had people kind of guessing or underestimating his ability, but his skill set should not have ever been underestimated. We knew that this was going to be a huge rematch between the two. Ben Shelton sliding past him last year in the U.S. Open, and if you watched the beginning of this match, you probably thought that this was going to hold the same fate. That is not the case. Ben Shelton took the first set, but Tiafoe really came in strong in the second set, winning the second set. Then you go to a tiebreaker in the third set, and then Tiafoe outright just continues to steal the show. How did this work in favor for Tiafoe? Well, for one, at least from what I was watching earlier, you saw Ben Shelton coming with the powerful serves that we know he can serve up. Not to how to play on words too much, but he's known for his fast serves. He's known for his powerful serves, but where Shelton just kind of started to fall apart consistently today was the fact that he had a number of backhanded errors. TFO started to play smart versus powerful, and I think that's what ended up winning him this matchup. You got 22 aces for Ben Shelton, though, so then you look at where the errors came in. You also look at a 71 win on first serve percentage, but fell short on his second serves, and breakpoint-wise, TFO came out strong the third, fourth, and fifth set with racking up those breakpoints, although both guys struggled to kind of convert consistently. TFO had 21 opportunities, only converting on 5 of the 21. And then you got Ben Shelton with a tie-break win. But like I mentioned, TFO down the stretch there just took it outright, 6-4 and 6-3. When it comes to points won, TFO or Big Foe, 173 points, won 29 games, and picked up 3 wins in a row, knocking Ben Shelton out. So this was a matchup. I mean, I only got to watch like the first 3 sets, but when you talk about 2 powerhouses, you're on a hard court surface. That's when the powerhouses translate the most. I mean, what a phenomenal matchup. You saw frustration on both ends. You saw both guys mentally pull back into the game, but TFO, I think, just showed a little bit more experience. He showed a little bit more patience, and he was able to come and deliver the full package. Now, what he did in his previous matchup before Shelton that worked out so well for him is he delivered a variable or a number of looks. He made it very hard for his opponent to get in a rhythm, and you started to see that with Ben Shelton after that first set today. He couldn't really get into a rhythm. He was getting a little flustered when he had those backhanded errors. I didn't see much draws to the net, so you saw both of these guys trying to work the corners and use their serving to their advantage, but Big Foe can show up and deliver on his return on his forehand, on his backhand, and he was very strong on the baseline. So this is tremendous news that Big Foe has superseded Ben Shelton and moves forward. I had Ben Shelton to be one of my American underdogs to get in there and hopefully contend for a title, but maybe it's finally Big Foe's year. He had the star power the year before. All the stars come out to support him. He felt disappointed that he fell short, but eventually he's still going to have to get through potentially Fritz or potentially Tommy Paul. I'd have to see what the end results were for that matchup, but there's a number of quality contenders that are still in the mix here, which is why the U.S. Open is still one of the best of the best. Currently, you got Musetti on the court right now, dropped that first set, but leading in the second set. Casper Ruud, he's a guy who can sneak in the mix also. He was top 5 when it came to the initial odds for the U.S. Open, and those lines have obviously drastically changed with Alcaraz out and Joker hoping to continue to hold that top spot. I mentioned that Fritz had a match earlier, won in straight sets versus Komisana, which is no surprise there. And then Dimitrov, he's somebody that I love to kind of keep in the underdog conversation as well. One of the only other 30-plus guys out on the courts, but had a tremendous showing in Miami. A big comeback is kind of his title right now, and he's somebody who could play very well. He dominates on hard courts. He's got that impressive backhand, that backhanded slice to be more specific, and he is extremely powerful and consistent when delivering to the backhand, which is something that a lot of opponents try to use to throw each other off, and you can't do it when it comes to Dimitrov, so we'll see how he continues to pull through. Rublev, somebody else who's sitting top 6 in the conversation, won in straight sets also today, so the biggest surprise in the last 24 hours outside of Alcaraz getting knocked out is the fact that Francis Tiafoe is going to continue to shine in the U.S. Open. But aside from obviously me geeking out about the U.S. Open and which players and underdogs are going to continue to move through, I got some best bets on tonight. We've talked to a number of guests between JY, Coach James, and then we've got the brilliant Joe Madden. We started the show with Joe Lisi, but we got to see where my head's at for the night. Now, my first one is obviously going to go within the U.S. Open, and as I mentioned, we got Alexei Popyrin, and I said this a number of times. I think he can at least win a set at -144, but I wouldn't be surprised if that set comes in the opening of the match. He's able to take that first set from Joker, and then Joker be who he is, the villain of the sport in such beautiful form and fashion. Then my next one is going to be TCU quarterback Josh Hoover over 291 passing yards. I kind of touched on this with Joe Lisi earlier in the show, but while 291 might feel steep, once again, they're going against a Sanford team who just bottom of the barrel when it came to the defensive conversation last season. And yes, was that a season ago? Obviously, but there weren't too many drastic changes made to where I foresee a large improvement. So you've got a guy who can sling the ball. He's going to try to expose or continue to expose Stanford's secondary. Now, in 7 games last year, or 7 appearances, I should say, in 5 of 7 appearances, he threw for well over 300 passing yards. So he's obviously capable of hitting the over on this number. And those were against defenses that weren't sitting in the bottom 5 rankings when it came to passing defenses or run defenses. He's not terribly afraid to use his legs. He'd use it a couple of times and go in for a slide, but the focus right here is on the arm, and I think Hoover can hit this over when it comes to the passing yards. Then next we've got the Lynx first quarter winner. I, again, touched on this with Coach earlier in the segment, but Minnesota Lynx, it's probably a hot take, or not a hot take, but a hot shoe-in that they're going to win their matchup tonight. But Coach put it perfectly. I didn't particularly lay it out this way, but he has the statistical mind when it comes to the WNBA, and he just backed up why I went with this first quarter bet. It's the fact that this is a team that, even though they're so good, they can fall short in a few ways, and that could potentially be in that second quarter or that third quarter. So them starting strong and finishing strong should kind of be in shoe-in, which is why I like them to be the outright winner in that first quarter. Then you've got, obviously, the big rookie showdown tonight between the Fever and Chicago. Or why would I say Fever and Chicago? Indiana and Chicago, Fever versus Sky. You pick what you want to go by. The total sitting at 164. And I just think with 2 brilliant rookies going toe-to-toe that this has got to go over, if you will. But also keep in mind that the Fever have hit the over total a number of times. I want to say 36 out of 20 or 36-21 hitting over 163 when they're projected to go under. So 2 rookies, 2 women who can put up the points, one huge in the rebound column, the other huge in the assist column, and then one also has a great supporting cast in Kelsey Mitchell. I think that should be good to go. And then from the last spot on my card, it's going to be for the Seattle Storm to cover the spread versus the Liberty. I said it earlier with Coach. I'll say it again. Let's not get bored of it quite yet. They've got 3 players that can put up 16-plus points. While the Liberty are a strong team, sometimes their performance is questionable if Stewart is not carrying. We know that she's going to have to carry, but I'm sure that the Storm know that as well. So this all brings into question, after they let up 94 points the other night, if they let up 80-plus and then Seattle lets up 80-plus, we're looking at a close game. We're looking at probably an over total. I didn't want to touch that or the money line, so I just went with the Storm covering the spread. So we've got plenty of best bets in the pot from Coach James, Joe Madden, Joe Lisi. We've got even more guests coming down the stretch, so you're not going to want to go anywhere. Let me know which of these best bets you like the most, because I'm feeling pretty confident about tonight's slate and tonight's card. We're going to continue to keep updates on the MLB as well as the U.S. Open, so go nowhere. Stick with us here on Game Time Decisions on SportsGrid TV.
When it comes to betting on sports, injuries matter, and Sports Injury Central has you covered all year long with expert injury analysis and injury-based picks for the NFL, NBA, and MLB. Our former pro sports doctors have unmatched experience to analyze every injury so you know the impact of the player, team, and their upcoming matchup. Whether it's articles, podcasts, player insights, or our patented injury scores, Sports Injury Central will help you keep up with your fantasy team and make more informed wagers. So make sure you follow Sports Injury Central and gain an edge at SixScore.com.
What is the ceiling for this kid? Now that he's got the money, and we saw something click with him, what is the ceiling for a Jordan Love in this Green Bay team?
Deepest pass target group in the National Football League. 2 stud tight ends. They're legit 5 deep at receivers. 7 bona fide pass targets deal. Come on, man. This guy could be a stud. Top 5 quarterback.
Game Time Decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
The bottom of this field is a bunch of guys, quite frankly, that aren't on the tour, aren't on the DP tour, aren't on the Korn Ferry tour.
You know, the top 25 or so in this field, I mean, you've got Rory, you've got Lowry, you've got Scheffler, you know, all 4 Americans, Minwoo Lee and Jason Day. And you go to Mito Pereira and Joaquin Neiman out of Chile. So, you know, it really is pretty deep.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's like it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on
You are watching Game Time Decisions here on SportsGrid TV. And we've got another guest for you. We've got to touch on this Wicked Tour Championship going on and then probably get into some, well, not probably, get into some really, really good NFL Week 1 conversation. We got some guys that got paid, so we've got plenty to dive into with the one and only Brady Cannon. But of course, Brady, you got to start us off with this unique tournament. You've got starters, you've got numbers, you've got guys who are fending without starting scores. What are you seeing so far when it comes to this tour championship that you broke down beautifully for us on Wednesday?
Yeah, you're right. It gets pretty confusing with these starting strokes and that type of thing. But what's not confusing is who's in the lead, the number one player in the world, Scottie Scheffler. And he started at 10 under par. He's now at 20. So he is, 10 under par through 2 days. And he started today with a 7-shot lead. It's now down to just a 4-shot lead. Xander Schauffele and Colin Morikawa are at 16 under par. Now, Scotty still has the 18th hole to play, which is a par 5 and definitely a birdieable hole. Schauffele just finished up with birdie on 18. So it looks like if everything goes according to plan, Scheffler will probably finish this day with a 5-shot lead. Now, they dug into that 7-shot lead a little bit, but now we've only got 36 holes left to play. The price is still pretty much the same on Scotty when we finished up on Thursday. He's at minus 400 to win this golf tournament. Xander Schauffele is at 5-1 and Colin Morikawa at 9-1. So not a whole lot has really changed here. I think what's changed the most, Kasey, is Schauffele got his act together. He's putting much better today. His iron play is much better today. But unfortunately, Scheffler has not really slowed the pace. He is still, shooting a 4 under par round today. He's got one more hole. He may make birdie on the par 5. That would be, a 5 under par round. He shot 6 under par in day 1. So no slowing down for the world number one and the leader right now, making it all that much more tougher to catch him. I will tell you, you talk about starting strokes and without strokes and all that stuff. Just the standard, golf tournament format without the starting strokes is pretty interesting if you're playing that market. Colin Morikawa is actually in the lead right now. He's at 12 under par with still one hole left to play. Scheffler, he might win both matches, without and with strokes. He's at 10 under par. Thigala at 9 under, Adam Scott at 8 under, along with Wyndham Clark. Justin Thomas was one of our guys we mentioned to maybe take a look at in this market. He got out to a hot start on Thursday, followed it up with a little bit of a cooling off period today, only shot 2 under par. He's at 7 under par in total for the tournament. But, even at minus 400, Kasey, I still think Scottie Scheffler is a good bet to make. I think it's going to take an awful lot to overtake him and take this FedEx Cup away from him. I think he's probably still the bet you want to make. I don't think he can blow this.
Yeah, I mean, he's number one for a reason, and on top of that, I mean, he's earned those points in that starting position, those starting strokes, if you will. So it's a tough one, as you mentioned beforehand, because there's some guys who have played very well as of late who probably wanted a better start to the tournament, but you can't go against it. You got to go with where it's at. But something else that you can't go against is maybe the 49ers this upcoming NFL season. They lock in Brandon Ayuk. After all of that, he's potentially going to the Steelers. He's potentially going anywhere else. What a dumpster fire that would have been. But now they get to lock in this receiver. I heard the only way that they would have actually gone through with the trade as if another top receiver that they could count on for efficiency and effectiveness could have come in his place, and that was not particularly the case. But how did you react to this news? And plus, how do you think that this is going to continue to add value to the 49ers this season?
Well, I wonder if the odds makers felt that this was going to be a done deal. I'm not sure how many points Brandon Ayuk is worth to the point spread. I'm not sure he's worth a full point. He's probably definitely worth a half point, and maybe some odds makers would make him worth a full point. We've seen that number come down the week 1 Monday night matchup with the New York Jets. This game opened about 5 or 5.5. It's down to 3.5. I actually took the New York Jets at +4, Kasey. It was in the offseason. I did a show regarding the 49ers a while back, and I always felt that this Ayuk deal was not going to be so dramatic or extend on how long it did. I thought they would wrap things up sooner than they did. But in the end, they get it done. He's going to get basically a week of practice here. I'm sure he's been staying in shape. I would guess he'll be a little bit off because we saw that in the preseason last year with these guys that they felt it was better just to rest them. They all started out rusty. And in response to that, we've seen guys getting more reps in the preseason this year. Brock Purdy's played, a few series and what have you in a couple different games. So I expect Ayuk to be a little bit rusty no matter what kind of, training program he's got going on in the offseason. You never can replace that game experience. Now you've got Trent Williams to take care of. I think they'll probably get that done before the season starts, but there's always that hangover looming over the Super Bowl loser. And typically week 1 is one of the best weeks to go against the team that lost the Super Bowl in the year prior. And of course, that would be the 49ers. And I've already done that. Like I said, I took the Jets +4. I think the Jets defense is excellent. I just think I wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers won the game, but I've been around this team for so many years, Kasey. They always seem to make it, a heart attack alert, and they go down to the very end of the wire here. They don't blow teams out all that often, and so I expect the Jets to be in this, possibly able to win outright. I wouldn't be surprised by a 2 or 3 point 49er victory.
Yeah, I'm kind of sitting with you on that one, Brady, just because you've got a Jets team that you can't deny. You've got 2 quality defenses that'll be going toe-to-toe. You've got drama on one side of the ball, maybe not as dramatic on the other side of the ball, but usually a slower start when it comes to those Super Bowl losers or sometimes even former Super Bowl winners. But, Brady, thank you so much for consistently breaking down golf for us, keeping us in the loop of all the top things going on, and letting us know where the value lies. We've got that Week 1 matchup between the Jets and the 49ers and a lot more NFL to look forward to and college football. So go nowhere. We've got another quick break here on SportsGrid TV. I'll see you guys on the other side.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last 2 Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton. They will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton could actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Welcome back into Game Time Decisions. We were just chatting with Brady Cannon about the Tour Championship. We started talking about some 49ers versus Jets. I kind of have some reservations when betting this game because of the two top defenses. I was almost going for the under total, but I just feel like that's not flashy enough for a Jets team and an Aaron Rodgers that has so much to prove yet cares maybe not so much to the public rather than internally. But the Jets should maybe be sitting atop of their division. What are your thoughts on this, Brady?
Yeah, I think the Jets are the play in the AFC East. You know, the Bills have ruled that roost for 4 years in a row. And I just think, you know, even despite what the Kansas City Chiefs have done and what the Patriots were doing, it feels like that may be running out for the Buffalo Bills. I feel like they're due to slip from that perch that they've been holding down atop that division. And now they've been beat up with some injuries on that team, which I can't stand. Injuries is the worst thing about professional football. It's always such a bummer, no matter who you're rooting for, who you're a fan for, who you're betting on or against. I just hate that injuries are such a part of this game. But now the Buffalo Bills are suffering from some injuries, and we've seen that price on the Jets come down, I think, not only because of betting on the Jets, but also because of some of that injury news. I was able to get the Jets at plus 180 to win the division. I'm not real high on Miami. I think they take a step back. I think they still have issues on the offensive line. If Tua gets hurt, God forbid, I talk about not liking injuries, and he was able to stay upright last year. If he gets hurt, I think they have such a drop-off. And we know about New England. Nobody expects them to be very good. They might go over their season win total, but they're not going to win the division in my mind. So that leaves me with the New York Jets, who I think will be vastly improved. I think you have to hope anyway that Aaron Rodgers will be healthy and around for the entire season. I think the offensive line is better. They've added a lot of pieces to that team. They were a very talented team last year. We know how good that defense was. And I think they're, arguably improved and obviously improved with Rodgers at the helm. So I like the Jets there to unseat the Bills and take the division there, Kasey. And, now it's down to, I want to say, plus 140, plus 150. The price is not so great anymore, but I think they're the team that ends up winning it.
I actually like that. At first, I was a little taken back because I thought the Dolphins would produce better, but you make a quality point as to if anything happens with Tua, there's a lot of question marks. Now, some of their younger quarterbacks actually have relationships with the wide receivers and have done well or fared well whenever they got the tap on the shoulder, but too many question marks there for me when it comes to the value. Now, I was seeing some Chicago Bears stuff, and you mentioned the term unthrown, and I know that we've got a big Packers-Eagles game getting ready to go down in Brazil, and the Packers, well, a lot of people don't know if there's enough respect on what they're going to do, not only in their division, but versus an Eagles team next Friday night. What do you like in that matchup?
I lean a little bit with the Eagles, and we've seen them take the money. And if you're interested in betting that game and you like the Eagles, you want to do it now while that number is still less than a field goal, pretty much 2.5 across the board. If you like the Packers, I would wait because I think it probably will get to 3. The Packers, if you look at what they did last season, obviously they got really hot in the second half. I think they absolutely are going to suffer some regression in terms of red zone efficiency. They were so good in the red zone and converting those drives into touchdowns. that is likely to not be sustainable. They're likely going to drop off in that regard. Now, there are other areas where they're probably going to be improved. They bring in a new defensive coordinator. They drafted heavy on defense in the offseason, so I think their defense will probably be better than we saw it last year, but there's still question marks there. How much better? It's basically a swap as far as the running backs. Aaron Jones for Josh Jacobs, probably pretty equitable in that regard. So I think the Packers are probably just going to be relatively even keel. Some things go up, some things come down. That number for their season win total of 9.5 is probably spot on. But the Eagles, on the other hand, I think are going to have a real progression going the other way. They started out hot. They weren't that hot. They weren't covering spreads. It was kind of smoke and mirrors. And then reality set in, and they really stumbled down the stretch. I think they'll revert the other way. They've added some pieces. Saquon Barkley, they drafted well. I think the defense improves. You got Vic Fangio in there. So laying less than a field goal for the team that I think is going to improve versus a team that I think stays maybe relatively neutral this year, I'll go ahead and lay it with the Eagles at anything less than a field goal.
Yeah, I was pretty torn on this one, too, because play calling should be better and more beneficial when it comes to Jalen Hurts, but you've got a workhorse when it comes to Saquon Barkley, so it could be a toss-up there. But, look, if weapons are healthy for the Packers, I could see them covering the spread, too, but we'll see what happens in Brazil just next week. Brady, thank you so much for joining us. We got another
Depends
quick
on the number. You like the 3, take the
TV.
Packers. 2.5, you go with the Eagles.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last 2 Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton. They will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton's actually the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
All right, we're ready to roll with the final stretch of Game Time Decisions here on SportsGrid TV. We got a number of games popping off for the MLB slate. Brewers are top of the Reds 5-4. Red Sox 3-0 versus the Tigers. Braves 2-0 versus the Phillies. Brewers 0-0 when it comes to the Reds, top of the 4th. Cubs versus the Nationals leading 7-2. Padres, no surprise here, and pain to me, 7-0 versus the Rays. 0-0 for Cardinals, Yankees, and Gardeners. I don't know where my brain's at right now, guys. Guardians 2-0 versus the Pirates. And I meant to say that Joe was on fire with her picks in that. But you know what? We've got a guest to help me put words together and make sense of this last stretch here on Game Time Decisions. And Dave, I hear that it's time for me to poke the bear when it comes to some Penn State conversation.
I thought we were talking hockey. I heard you're the hockey girl. You're going to come at me with the West Virginia Penn State thing right off the bat. I didn't know that this was. I really wasn't ready.
I had to put our friendship to the test. That's the theme of today. I had to test Lacey earlier. I didn't do anything to Joe and James, but I heard that you were the guy to, again, time to poke the bear. That's the best way to close out a show.
That's fine. That's what we'll do here for the next segment or two. That's good. Yeah, this is a big weekend. It's funny because baseball has been going on for 5 months. And then yesterday, it's forgotten about. And you're coming to the book, and it's like, in Vegas, everybody comes back this week. It's like a family reunion. Hey, how are you? How was the summer? How are the kids? Blah, 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 blah. What do you like in the Penn State, West Virginia game? I mean, they just get right to it. So that's fine. We can get right to it too. That's good. It's all good.
I took a page out of their book, obviously.
Yeah, that's fine. And wait, are you going to tell me that you want to take the points plus the points with West Virginia? Is that what you're poking the bear? Is that what you're talking about?
Did they show you my card?
No.
Did they throw
I haven't
that out
seen
there?
anything yet. No.
I just wonder if Penn State can put the Mountaineers secondary to work. I wonder if they can really wear them out and wear them down. And when those question marks come into play for me, I start laying the points elsewhere. So, look, my best friend, Masters from Penn State, I have to show them a little respect and love. But in this one, I don't know.
All right, that's fine. I think there's a couple things, right? The weather could be an issue. We did Bostonian versus the book today. We had a couple boots on the ground guests from West Virginia. It was very cloudy there at the time, and there's chance of rain tomorrow morning. It might stop. It might happen during the game. They don't know yet. Bring weather into the equation of a first game, and then you have a team on the road, Penn State, with I don't know how many questions they have. I think offensively they're going to be okay, and let's hope that this is the year that they continue to progress and get better and then maybe get to the playoff, but that's a different discussion for another time. West Virginia looks like they are going to be able to run the ball. If they are able to run the ball, your bet plus the points is probably a pretty good bet. West Virginia in the first half, if you expect West Virginia to keep this a competitive game, will be one of those. This is the time to take the dogs early and then see how the game goes. In-game live, there's in-game betting that you'll be able to make adjustments. Pre-game, though, I think Penn State's winning this game. Am I laying the points? No. I'm not excited to lay the points right now. I am not going to lie. I am nervous. And now that I know your card has West Virginia on it, I'm also a little nervous. And I hope Lacey, did Lacey at least say he likes Penn State? Because Joe brings him Penn State.
He made sure he got out of here before we got that opinion. So that's the other reason I had to open up and ask you that, because Lacey made sure that he didn't have to answer that question. But you know where Lacey did break my heart? The Miami versus Florida game. Obviously, everybody knows that if you grow up a diehard FSU fan, you can't give any respect to the Gators. The only thing I could say for them is that the swamp is loud. And the swamp is tough to play in sometimes. But, I mean, we've beat them a number of times there. But he had some favoritism for Florida, whereas I think that even though Miami might get a little too much hype around them sometimes, it should be theirs, no?
Yeah, this is going to be – there's a lot of good games tomorrow. This is the one I think – I tell people all the time, early in the season in the book, it's about learning, and it's about getting a feel for – because right up till now, it's all speculation. I mean, unless you've been at every practice and know what's going on, you really don't know. And one of my lines is, nobody knows squadouche, but I use another word that I can't say today. All right, that's the deal. That's the life in the book. This game, we're going to learn a lot. I have way more questions about Florida. All right, yes, home field tough. Yes, it's going to be hot. Yes, September in Florida, miserable. You know exactly what I'm talking about and what everybody's talking
Very
about.
well.
It's going to be a battle of attrition, and they're both ready for it. I think Miami has a lot of upside in the ACC. If they're going to win the ACC, they're going to win this game. And I am leaning Miami right now. As far as the total, I really don't know. I don't know if Florida's going to be able to score a lot. They may be able to play defense and hold Miami down and then win an ugly game like last night's game. North Carolina and Minnesota was ugly. That was an ugly 19-17 game. Just ugly. Like a lot of the games tonight, Case. Like, they sent me a text. You want to talk about the games tonight? I was like, no, please. I don't want to. I don't want to talk about 24, minus 42. None of that stuff. We got enough good games tomorrow.
Yeah, and plenty to prepare for, because the best part about good games is sometimes there's quality underdogs that can come in and take the cake. And I like the fact that everybody kind of has a different opinion sometimes, and it's not always the status quo. Like me being a little frustrated / annoyed that Georgia sits at the top when it comes to college football. I know that they've earned it, but how boring of a conversation. How exciting would it be if Clemson just kind of took the chip on their shoulder because they feel disrespected in the ACC and just kind of made some noise tomorrow if their quarterback doesn't turn over the ball 500 times versus Georgia's defense. But I'm trying to find some good bets in this one because it's a stressful situation for a fun game.
This is a really interesting game because Georgia doesn't always come out with a quality opponent. And for you SEC apologists, I'm giving it to you right now. You don't really play anybody outside the conference, okay? They're playing Clemson. This is going to be, I think, a very competitive game. But I don't know if Clemson is going to be able to score enough points to cover the spread. When you work in the books as long as I did, you end up liking Georgia because their odds are so low to win it all. If they continue to do that, you don't have much exposure and you don't really have to sweat it when they get to the championship game. I don't know. You might have to sweat this one tomorrow, Case, but I like Georgia. It would be fun. And believe me, it's going to turn the college football world upside down if Clemson can pull off an upset. I just think Georgia's going to be too much defensively in this football game.
Yeah, and I'm cliche enough to at least know that when a defense can show up, it's usually theirs, or they know how to secure the bag if the defense comes out. And they're going to count on the turnovers from Clemson's quarterback. So disappointment for me, but there's plenty of other games that I could probably find positivity in. But before we get to the under 1 minute mark, I do want to know what your favorite plays or bets are on the MLB card. Joe delivered up some great ones that we're seeing play out right now as the games roll through. What's on your card?
I can't wait to watch Diamondbacks Dodgers tonight. This is the game. You get basically the hottest team in baseball plus money against Kershaw. Now, Kershaw was really good his last time out. So I like that game. I will be watching that within Game Live. We'll lead up to that, Wetzel and I. But that's going to be one that I think will have, if you're a baseball fan, you're still in baseball. This one is 2 playoff teams. So, I didn't even want to mention that San Diego was one of my favorite plays of the day, too. I know you're Tampa. It is. It was. It is.
Wow, Dave, you heard me open up about how they just assaulted my heart on the line there.
You want to poke the bear, we can go back and forth all session. I like it.
Oh, that's what it is. It's karma. Well, at least they can get more of your information on In-Game Live Prime Time. Once Game Time Decisions rolls up, so go nowhere. Stay with here on SportsGrid TV.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last 2 Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton, they will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton could actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
You are watching Game Time Decisions here on SportsGrid TV. And, well, we left off with Dave Sherman insulting my Tampa Bay Rays, but he's not the only one insulting them. Obviously, the Padres are too, as they continue to stack. I mean, it's 7-2, bottom of the second. Maybe the Tampa Bay Rays have some time to pull through here. I don't know. They've been a unique team to watch this season and a heartbreaking team at that. Dave, help me here.
Yeah, this is that time of year where if you were still in Tampa, which you're not, you'd be focusing on the Buccaneers and moving on. The Rays season is over. Listen, I'm in your boat. It's nighttime in Pittsburgh behind me, and it's my background on every show, and it's where I'm from. Skeens lost that game. Well, Skeens didn't lose that game. The Pirates bullpen lost that game on Wednesday. It was a total disaster, worst loss of the season, and Cleveland's already leading them again tonight. That's another game that I had circled to be like, okay, you need to play Cleveland Guardians tonight. You were talking about some other baseball games. I mean, the Mets. We have to address the Mets. Now that you're a native New Yorker, you know, you're either Yankees or Mets. I mean,
nope,
which one
I can't
are
do it.
You can't?
I can't
Why?
do it. No, because the hockey world is already trying to force my hand to support a tri-state team. And I cannot. I could maybe show a little love for the New Jersey Devils, but outside of that, I mean, that's already a tough pull. But then baseball, the Mets, I mean, when you doubt them, they show up. When you encourage them, they let you down. And I don't think my heart can take it. You already see, I'm dealing with entitled disappointment with Tampa Bay. I don't know if I could take on being a Mets fan by any means.
It's going to test you. There's no question. And, you know, between Christopher back there and a couple other people that are Mets fans, Vinny and stuff, they've lived it. And it is a lot of disappointment. I don't think it's going to be disappointment tonight. They're playing the White Sox. Everybody wins when they play the White Sox. So find a way to put it in there, money line, parlay piece, run line, whatever you need to do. Maybe not the first 5 because the White Sox have been competitive for keeping games close. But when they get to that bullpen, that'll be one that you automatically have to play. So stay strong, Case. No Rangers, no Islanders.
No.
And I mean, you can just kind of appease the Devils fans because, listen, they're not very good. They're not going to be very. They might be better now. I don't know.
They're going to be better.
Are they going to be better?
Yes, they're going to be better. They made the right moves in the offseason. They plugged some holes. They added some depth, so it's not all residing on the shoulders of the one and only Jack Hughes. And when you got a good defense playing in front of a quality goaltender, they can do some things. So I'm allowed to give this much love to them, though. but I will never be allowed to return to Florida if I am seen in any New York gear, Rangers or Islanders, period.
How about Penguins? How do you feel about the Penguins? Do you have an issue with the Penguins and the Lightning? We're kind of like neighbors. We don't really talk. Like we've had some division, playoff battles, but I swear every time the Penguins go to Tampa, it doesn't end well. I feel like the Penguins on the road trips, they lose at Tampa and then they lose at Florida. It's never a good two-way parlay when the Penguins go down there.
See, you set it up perfectly because I was just about to say I can tolerate the Penguins because we've done well versus them over at least the last 5 seasons for the most part. So that works. Right. Best friend's husband's a big Penguins fan. The little kid keeps running around wanting to play hockey and won't take off a Sidney Crosby t-shirt, which is stressing me out. But, I just want to give him a new shirt, and I'm hoping Sweet Baby Colson will take that gift from Auntie Case and become a true diehard Lightning fan. But if I was to try to gear towards another team, maybe not a New York team, but another team that's like exciting to watch, I could hop on a Diamondbacks bandwagon, I think. I know that that's probably like the last thing anybody wants to hear, but I could work with it.
It worked out okay last year. They made it all the way to the World Series. And I think there's something there. It's happening again. They're getting really good bullpen pitching. They're getting clutch hitting. Corbin Carroll finds a way to get up the bat with guys on base late in games and get on. It wouldn't be a bad move. And when you look at this, I don't know. I mean, they're right there for the division. These odds are really surprising to me because I think either San Diego or Arizona could catch them. One losing streak of like 4 or 5 games and a winning streak by one of the other two can flip this whole thing around. So I don't know. I love the purple. I love the old school Diamondback stuff. It would look great. It's not a bad move. Diamondbacks is not a bad move to jump on now.
And I love a team that's got a good retro look to them. But I guess aside from me being new to the area, I do have to pick your brain on this. We asked Tom Vecchio about it a couple weeks ago. Who's a dark horse when it comes to the AL side versus the NL side?
I keep wanting to fall for one of the teams in the Central, the American League Central. So I want to say it's Cleveland. But, man, they go through these cold stretches where they have the best bullpen in baseball and in the American League for sure. San Diego's giving them a run for their money overall. I really, really like Cleveland. I mean, I could come on here and say it's the Orioles or the Yankees, whatever team doesn't win, but you can't because they have the 2 best records. Who wants to see Houston again? That's a tough one, but they just won't go away. It's either Cleveland or Kansas City. If Kansas City gets in, they can win a 3-game series. And once they do that, when they're playing with house money, you saw it both with Texas and with Arizona last year, they can get to the World Series.
I like that. You didn't go with the status quo on that one. Obviously, my face probably said it all when you mentioned the Orioles and the Yankees. While I can't root for the Yankees, have I a number of times banked on their, first 5 run line or money line? Yes. Have I been burned a couple of times in the past 2 weeks? Absolutely. And that's where I learned that I'm not going to be a big New York fan, or at least a non-sour one. But it's a learning experience. But you could probably learn how to bet smart and be a good loser and a quality winner with Dave on the other side with In-Game Live Prime Time, because of course he's going to have even more information and insight. So go nowhere, stay with SportsGrid TV.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, Trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last 2 Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton, they will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton could actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Welcome back into Game Time Decisions. It's the final stretch here for me, Kasey Hudson, but we've got Dave to ask one other question to when it comes to the MLB, and actually I'm just going to make this a very basic one. Cardinals up 2-1 versus the Yankees at the moment. We had Joe who had some great breakdowns and plays for the Cardinals specifically, and I just went with a bunch of RBI props today, but is there anything positive as this game gets moving along that you like on either side?
The Cardinals are playing pretty good this week. This might not be a bad play. It's down right now. But Cardinals up early, and you're getting them at a very short price or even still plus money. It's probably not a bad play. They can win the game tonight. So that's my gist of that game. I'm focused on one thing. I'm gonna get out of here on this. I had this one ready. I'm probably sleeping it.
Oh,
this is okay. This is for you. If you want to poke the bear has to be ready to answer. So Nittany Lions tomorrow, money line. All the Penn State people listening, watching, you know the cheer. It's We Are Penn State. Tomorrow, it's We Are covering the number. Okay, just remember that. Let's go.
I'll try to remember that one when I get back here tomorrow. I can't make any guarantees, but at least you're leaving in fashion and flair with the great hat, and hopefully, well, not for me at least, if you get a chance to cover the spread. For me, I need West Virginia to cover, and that's going to be more important. No offense, Dave, but it was great to chat with him about all of that. Quick update around the league of the MLB. Dave and I got into most of it. Not much has changed in some of these games. Red Sox 3-0 versus the Tigers. You've got the Braves ahead 4-1 versus the Phillies, top of the 5th. And as for who's getting the job done when it comes to the Braves, you've got Sean Murphy with a home run and Lopez on the mound with 2 strikeouts thus far. Then moving to some of these other games going on, Brewers ahead of the Reds 1-0, top of the 5th. You've got the Cubs and Nationals. Nationals trying to get back in this one. It's the end of the 4th inning, comes ahead 7-3. And then I can't believe I called the Guardians whatever I did earlier. Guardians still sitting ahead of the Pirates 2-0. My Rays are trying to catch up with the Padres, and this does not look hopeless, everyone. Padres still holding strong at 7. Rays inching up now at 4 from 2, and now sitting at the top of the 3rd. So it wasn't completely me leaning with my heart over my head when I said that the Rays could possibly find a way to get back into the mix. You had Machado with a home run earlier, and then on the Rays side of everything, you got Diaz with a home run. Andy Diaz, he's always a great one to put some props on. I haven't done it because I cannot bet on home teams. It just doesn't work favorably for me. I'm doing it in honor of my home teams. And then, as Dave and I just mentioned, Cardinals-Yankees, Cardinals up bottom of the third. Down in the stretch of the late slate, Athletic and Rangers coming up. Joe dropped some great card slots for that. Then you got the Blue Jays and the Twins, Mets, White Sox, Royals, Astros, Orioles, and Rockies. I think I might stick with that Orioles first five. My gut's not wavering me from doing it, and I just feel like there's always some kind of juju when it comes to Coors Field and the Rockies. You got the Mariners and the Angels at the 938 spot. Dodgers, Diamondbacks, as we have talked about, in Marlins versus the Giants. We know Marlins love to give up a number of runs. On the WNBA side of everything, Lynx versus the Wings. You've got the Wings ahead 26-18 in the second quarter. Now, in that first quarter is where they obviously took control. So me having the Lynx come out hot and hopefully finish hot. We don't know if they can finish hot yet, but they obviously did not start hot in this category. You've got Carlton with only 3 points for the Lynx. You've got Williams with 4 points. They're not really racking up and getting those point totals. You've got Natasha Howard with 8 points for the Wings. You've got Ongu Bole with 8 points. And I think, as Coach mentioned earlier, I'm not seeing any Tina Charles on anything. And then for the Fever versus the Sky, we're 9:06 in the second quarter, and the Sky are actually in the lead by 3 points. So this one's going back and forth well and fun. Caitlin Clark with only 8 points, 2 rebounds, and 3 assists so far. As for Mitchell, I mean, she's sitting at 8 points, and we had some props on her between Coach and myself. Then you got Angel Reese already at 4 rebounds as the second quarter continues to work through. So plenty of games continuing to stay underway. Great prop bets, great insight throughout this entire Game Time decision. So I hope you guys are continuing to watch the live lines. And then we got some more college football coming down the stretch here at not Game Time decisions, but SportsGrid TV. So you're going to want to make sure you tune in not only to in-game live prime time coming up next, but all weekend long here on SportsGrid TV.